nothing there, ref. That's he got the ball. Morning, Tottenham fans around the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. It's your boy Dave, and today we're here predicting how Tottenham will line up against Manchester City in what promises to be an entertaining game. We come into this game on the high with 3 straight wins underneath our belt and showing signs of improvement, especially with the return of several key players from injury. Plus, let's not forget that we have been a real thorn in Pep Guardiola's side over the years. We are their bogey team, and we've already beaten them twice this season, including that massive 4-0 win at the Etihad back in November. But it's not going to be easy. We are facing a wounded Man City side, desperate for a top 4 finish. Their egos have been bruised after Liverpool have effectively ended their defence of the title, and they will look to avenge that 4-0 defeat back in November. And we all know a wounded animal is a dangerous animal. Now, in terms of injury updates, none of the absent players are expected to return in time for this match. So, Postecoglou, he still has a lot of options available to him. There will be a couple of players that will be disappointed to not be selected in this lineup. Postecoglou will have to make 1 or 2 big calls and upset 1 or 2 individuals. But the question remains, should he make a couple of changes, or should he go with the same 11 that started against Ipswich Town? So let's dive into the predicted lineup that I think Ange Postecoglou will go with. In between the sticks, Guglielmo Vicario will retain his place, and his return has been an absolute massive boost to this team. Against Ipswich Town, he kept Spurs in the game earlier on, making 2 big saves from Liam Delap, and it is these saves in big games under pressure that we have missed in his absence. In the reverse fixture is where he did do his ankle in. Hopefully he can get through this game unscathed. Also, in the reverse fixture, he came under fire an awful lot during that game. He was regularly tested and pulled off some world-class saves, and we're going to need a similar level of performance here. Moving into defence, and we will start with fullbacks, and this is one of the areas of the pitch where Postecoglou will have to make a decision, but they are good headaches to have. However, I do think he's going to make a decision that will be unpopular amongst the Spurs fan base, but I'm going to do my best to convey that to you. Starting at left back and fresh off the back of scoring his first Premier League goal for Tottenham Hotspur, Jedi Spence-tacular deserves to keep his place in the starting lineup today. Jed Spence was again solid defensively, whether it was on the left or the right hand side, and it is a standard that Jed Spence has set for himself, and it has become the custom norm. But what really impressed me was how good he was going forward down that left hand side, especially when James Maddison came into the fold. Great link up play between the two, which actually led to Jed Spence's goal. And for me, if you add Son into the mix down that left hand side, the attacking possibilities down that side is something that really gets my juices flowing, which means then a Destiny Udogie will drop to the bench as he continues to regain full fitness. For me, when it comes to Destiny Udogie, it's not about rushing him in, it's about building up his minutes, building up his fitness, so we don't get ourselves back into a position where we were earlier in the season where he was playing half fit. Which means I now need to explain why I think Pedro Porro will come in at right back. Now, first of all, I don't think he was dropped against Ipswich Town. I think he was just rested to ensure that he is fully fit for this game. Now, the reason why I believe that is that if you do play Jed Spence and Destiny Udogie at fullback, yes, you've got a solid defence, which many would argue first and foremost should be your priority. But both are dribblers and ball carriers out from the back. And one of Pep Guardiola's non-negotiables is pressing immediately when you do lose that ball. And I do expect Man City to press us high. And if I was Guardiola, I'd double up the fullbacks, knowing that they are dribblers, and look to win the ball back off them, which means then if they do, they can get in behind us and exploit us very, very quickly. So in order to bypass the press that I think Man City will put on us, I do think you need someone with a passing range, someone who can play an accurate ball forward and hit them on the counter. That's something Pedro Porro has consistently provided all season long. So on that basis, I do think he will start. If Romero were fit and there was another option of someone who could play that out ball and had a similar passing ability, then I think there'd be more of a discussion around getting Jed Spence and Destiny Udogie into the same team in games like this. However, I do believe this could be the wrong choice, and a choice that could come back to haunt us come the end of 90 minutes, especially if Doku plays on Pedro Porro's side rather than Savio, who started in the first game, because Doku did look like a real threat and a real menace against Liverpool, and if we give him that time and space down that right hand side, he will exploit that. But ultimately, it's risk versus reward, and we know exactly where Postecoglou tends to lead towards, and that is the attacking option. That's the reason why I think Pedro Porro will come back in. So guys, let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Moving into centre-back, and we will start with left-sided centre-back, and it will be Kevin Danso who will retain his place here. And he has settled in very, very quickly since his arrival in January. His no-nonsense, almost brawl-like approach to defending is already leading to him becoming a fan's favourite, and he is a considerable upgrade in my opinion on Radu Dragusin in every facet of the game. Now, he started at left-sided centre-back against Ipswich, which confused some, but I do wonder if it was part of him getting used to that position for when Romero returns. We have seen images of Romero returning back to training, but we haven't seen any of Mickey van de Ven, which alludes to that one will probably return quicker than the other. So I do reckon that Danso playing at left-sided centre-back is to get ahead of the situation, knowing that Romero will slot straight back in on the right-hand side. Now, if Haaland is back, he will provide a focal point that I do think Man City really missed against Liverpool. I actually think a lot of Man City's general play up until the final third in and around the box was very good, but it was clear that they were missing that focal point. So Haaland will bring that dimension to their attack, and if he does start, they will be a lot more dangerous than what they were against Liverpool. However, I am absolutely fascinated to see how Kevin Danso gets on against one of the best attackers in world football. At right-sided centre-back, even though Romero is back in training, he's still not 100% fit and will play no part in this game, which means Archie Gray will partner Kevin Danso at the heart of defence. Now, Liam Delap made the opening 20 minutes very, very difficult for Archie Gray, but after a few early scares, Archie Gray did settle in very, very quickly, showcasing maturity and ability to be able to problem solve in the heat of the battle. What stood out for me the most, though, was Archie Gray's long ball for Son's first goal. That was really impressive and something that he continued to do regularly after that, and hopefully we'll see more of the same from him in this game. And it is something that Romero does bring to the team when he's fit that we are currently missing. And for me, if he can deliver passes like that, and he has that in his locker, I have no doubt this guy has the all-round ability to be a world-class number 6 in the future. Moving into midfield and starting with number 6, and I don't think there's going to be any contention around who should start here. It's my opinion that Yves Bissouma will be sold come the summer, and that Postecoglou is probably going to gradually phase him out between now and the end of the season. His contract is up in 2026, and there's been no talks about renewal. However, one guy that is getting a contract renewal is Rodrigo Bentancur, and I do think he will retain his place here. Now, he didn't have the best of games against Ipswich Town. In the first half, he was pretty poor. Took him a while to get going in the second half. Overall, not his best performance. However, Bentancur does tend to raise his game for the bigger games, and he's going to have a much better performance here. He's going to have to be a lot more disciplined, not really vacate that position, that CDM role. He's going to have to sit in there, sit in front of them centre-backs and block up the spaces, something Yves Bissouma did actually do brilliantly against Man City in the reverse game in November. And also in possession, hopefully he can bring a bit of composure to what we're doing. Hopefully we can dominate a little bit more possession than what we did against Man City back in November, because I do think if he can do that, I do think that that Man City midfield can be dominated, and they are there for the taking. Now, from this position onwards, I think is where it gets a little bit tricky for Postecoglou. You got James Maddison, who came off the bench in his incredible form, providing goals and assists. You've also got Dejan Kulusevski providing goals and assists off the back of a goal against Ipswich Town. You've also got Brennan Johnson, who's also scored 2 goals, Son back in form. But then also, you've got the added tricky situation of Lucas Bergvall and his performances of late, and his display against Fulham, which has earned him worldwide reviews. However, one player that I do think has to come straight back into the lineup is James Maddison. He came off the bench against Ipswich, providing an assist for Jed Spence's goal, recording 97% passing accuracy and winning 100% of his duels. He also scored 2 goals against Manchester City earlier on in the season and was named man of the match that day. With 10 goals and 7 assists this season, he has certainly earned the right to start, in my opinion, not to mention the potential link-up between Spence, Maddison and Son, all at their best, could be something really special and a way we could really get at Man City and something we can develop moving forward. And I think James Maddison, there is talk about him potentially getting back into the England squad, and I think he was rested against Ipswich with a view of coming in here being fully fit and ready to go, and hopefully we can see a similar level performance like we seen of him in the reverse leg. If we did, we can certainly go and win this game. Now, this is where it really becomes a bit tricky. Do you go with Dejan Kulusevski? Because in fairness, Kulusevski and Maddison is something that we did see earlier on in the season, and it did look very well when everybody was fit and all the right components were behind it. However, he did have to change it up once we started suffering injuries behind it, especially just to give us a bit more defensive solidity. Or do you go with someone like Lucas Bergvall, who will get around the pitch? One thing he done brilliant against Ipswich would put his body on the line, get in there, make a nuisance of himself, turn ball over, but also in possession he was very, very positive and he can produce. But because I think Brennan Johnson is producing goals and assists, Son is producing goals and assists, so is Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison, I do think harshly Lucas Bergvall could miss out here, which means Dejan Kulusevski will retain his place. And the reason why I think you have to keep Dejan Kulusevski in the team is he always turns up against Man City. I know Postecoglou came out and highlighted James Maddison, but part of me thinks that is a added motivation to Kulusevski to step up and say, hey, remember me, Pep? So for me, I think based on what he's done against City in the past, based off his brilliant goal at Ipswich at the weekend, and a guy that is getting back to his best, having a lot of rest recently, I think you have no option but to start him considering the output. Not only that, he also links up very, very well with Brennan Johnson down this side. Moving into the forward line, and we will start with the left-hand side, and it will be our captain who could have a massive say on proceedings today. It will be Heung-min Son. And for me, he's a key player to watch out for from a Spurs perspective. He's done very well in recent outings, and his most recent against Ipswich Town, where he set up 2 goals for Brennan Johnson on the day, and he was a constant threat in their side. And for me, it was good to see us getting Son back into where he is more effective, which is actually not getting the ball to his feet, which is actually releasing him over the top, in behind, and exploiting spaces, which means then he can cut inside very, very quickly and either shoot or put someone else in. And one thing I think he done really well against Ipswich is actually picking the timing of his pass. In weeks gone by, I think he's been very guilty of maybe being a bit selfish, going for that shot when other people are in better positions. However, on this game, he did take the right options in possession. We're going to depend on Son to be able to make a defining contribution in the final third here, and hopefully he can deliver. Moving on to right wing, and again, this guy picks himself after scoring a brace against Ipswich Town, and it is Brennan Johnson. And again, I know many people are going to complain, all this guy does is score goals. However, I would argue arriving at the right place at the right time consistently is a good skill to have. And at the end of the day, when you score goals, you're automatically going to keep your place in the starting lineup the following week. However, I do think going forward, I would like to see, for Brennan Johnson's sake, for him to be able to develop the other assets that you need as a winger, such as being able to cross the ball consistently, because I think also then it helps out your teammates around you, like your strikers, helps them get on the score sheets and stuff like that, but also the ability to be able to beat his man devastatingly as well and use that pace to really good effect. But maybe that is something that will come with maturity. So I'm going to sit back, give him an opportunity, and let's see where it goes. He does get an awful lot of slack, and we're going to talk about in the pre-match build-up, maybe is it unwarranted. However, in terms of today's game, we're going to need more of the same. We're going to look to attack down that left-hand side an awful lot. Postecoglou seems to rely on it an awful lot. And we're going to need him arriving in at the back post. Now, he was unfortunate not to get his hat-trick. Kulusevski played a lovely ball into him, and I think that's another avenue that we can also use to get Brennan Johnson involved. But Postecoglou did say in his pre-match press conference that Brennan Johnson does have something that nobody else has in that forward line, which I think alludes to him starting here. And then that brings me into the forward position. Now, if people did want to get Lucas Bergvall into the team, potentially you could move Kulusevski up into the forward line, or move Son or Johnson up there and move Kulusevski out wide and bring Bergvall in. However, I don't think this is the time where Postecoglou will experiment with that, and I do think Matisse Tell will continue starting up front. Now, he didn't have the best of games against Ipswich at all, had zero to no effect on the game. When the ball did come into it, he ended up losing it, couldn't really hold it up. However, I'm not really going to grate on him. I don't think that's his fault. I do think he is a natural winger, and I know there would be some that would say start day in Scarlet. He's earned it anytime he's come off the bench. He's provided a vocal point, he assists, and he scores goals. He came off the bench and got that assist against Ipswich. However, I do think Postecoglou will look to use Matthias Tel pace in behind and look to get at Man City, because their defence is quite weak. You can't get at it, especially that Kusanov player. So for me, I think we're going to see Matthias Tel up here again, and just maybe this could be the game where he announces his arrival at Tottenham Hotspur. So guys, that is my predicted lineup. I have given you my reasons why. Please give me your reasons in the comment section below on your predicted lineup, anything you agree or disagree with. Let's run through this quickly again. It will be Vicario in goals, Pedro Porro at right back, Archie Gray and Danso at centre back, Spence at left back, Bentancur as your CDM, Kulusevski and Maddison as your two number 8/10s, whatever you want to call it, Johnson off the right, Son off the left, with Matthias Tel through the middle. Now, I know it's a pretty attacking lineup, but I do think Postecoglou has to take a gamble. I think he's that sort of guy by nature. Many fans want to see a much more improved, exciting and more creative Tottenham Hotspur between now and the end of the season for them to be convinced that he is the right guy. We need to go on a run, and for me, I think Postecoglou being at home just might take this gamble with this attacking lineup, and also hopefully look to get at Man City. They're nothing to be scared of this season. Look to get at them, press them nice and high, and try and dominate them. If we can do that, maybe the mentality coming into these big games is maybe just starting to shift a little in our favour. So guys, please get in the comment section below. Give me your thoughts. Please run them likes up. I'll see you back here for the pre-match build-up at 4:30. As always, come on you Spurs, in the big hands we trust.